Hi viewers and welcome to the channel, and this is a follow-up video for the parametric ribbon that I did for one of the hulls or fuselages. So this was a previous video that was uploaded. We created a boat hull in there and created a number of bulkheads from parametric cross sections. Now there was a few questions around that. The first one was regarding an offset. So at the moment, if we 3D printed that, those bulkheads or ribs will actually be on the outside surface, actually just showing through. We need to offset those back, and I'll be going through how to do that. Another question was regarding chamfering each of the actual cross sections, and I'll be showing you how to do that in one go. I'll be recreating that model from scratch, renaming each of the parts so it's much easier to follow. Also be showing you how to cut the top surface so we can expose those cross sections underneath. There are some more questions that I'm going to be doing another video with. I just didn't want this video to be too long. So thank you for those questions, and let's see if we can tackle them. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. So what I've done is I've already started a Freecad document. I've saved it off and I've jumped into the sketcher. We're going to be building the boat along this axis here, along the Y. So it's going to be pointing in that direction. Going to create a sketch, XZ plane, hit OK, and we're going to create the cutting tool. So this is just going to be a rectangle that's going to be the length of the boat. Hit escape, and we'll place some size in here. So I'm going to set this one to about 200 millimeters and set the height to 100 millimeters. This is what's just going over in my previous video, and we're going to set those 2 points symmetrical to that center point. And this is attached there, so I don't need that. Click on it and delete that. So that's all good there. There was a constraint because it was constrained to this line because I've got the auto constraints on. Just delete that constraint out of there. Hit close. So we've got this rectangle here. If you want to go back to the other video, you can, just to go over that. But I'm just going to go through this quickly to create the necessary objects in here. Go over to the part, and we need to extrude this way. Let's give ourselves a bit of space. So extrusion along the y-axis. I've had the sketch already selected, and we can come down and check that. And you see shape sketch there. Click the y-axis, and we're going to extrude about 350 millimeters in that direction. This is going to create our cutting tool. So I'm going to rename these as I go. So this is with the boat. So this covers the boat. So I'm going to call this boat coverage. We're only going to be using this once anyway. So this is our main extrude that we're going to create the cutting tool from. Click on the side. We need the curves workbench installed. So if you haven't got that, you can go over to the tools, curves workbench. I've already got it installed. So tools, add-on manager there. Click on that side. Click once so this face is selected, and create something called an ISO curves across there. So our ISO curves have been added. This is a compound object, so I can click on the ISO curves and change the U to 0, and you'll see we just get the vertical lines. I'm going to up this to about 8. This is totally separate from the main extrude. So I can click on the main extrude, and we've got a compound set of lines there as one object, a number of edges. So with lines or edges, we can extrude them. So come up to the part. We're going to extrude this along the x-axis to make the ribs or the sections, bulkheads, etc. Click on the ISO curve, and we'll extrude that along the x-axis. Make sure it goes in the same direction. So 1, -1 this way, 1 this way. So point of origin, -1, 1. And along will be the width of the boat, which was 200 millimeters, and we've created our stations for the extrusions, which we'll use as a cutting tool. So we've got the extrude there. I'm going to rename this cutting extrude. We're also going to use it to sketch upon. So I'm going to click this face here, click on the front, bring this in, come over to the sketch workbench. I'm going to attach a sketch to this, so make sure it's selected. Only select it once, otherwise we select it again, the whole lot will select. So just select that one there. And we'll create a sketch along there. Make sure it's flat face, okay, and this is going to be the profile of your boat. So I'm working across the whole of this rather than the half breadth, and whatever profile you want to add, but make sure you keep it inside this area. So whatever method you feel comfortable with making the profiles. We will go through side profiles, doing this from the side view as well, perhaps in another video. We'll keep to the questions asked in this video first. So we've got constraint substitution because I've got the auto constraints on, the avoid redundant constraints, and we'll just substitute that constraint there because I'll create a tangent against these two. Create a line, click on this point, create a line, and that line there. It's not attached to this one, and that's because I want to create a mirror across here. So select all of them, the box selection, come up to the mirroring. Well, first of all, we need to select something to mirror over, so this center line can mirror over. Come up to the mirroring, and we'll mirror across there. These 2 points need to be connected together with a coincident constraint, and this point needs to be connected against the center line with a point on object constraint. These two, because they've been mirrored, will be separated. So this point and this point connect together. Going to make sure that these two have an equality. So use equals, and these two also have an equality. And we'll take this point and put them in horizontal constraint, and the same with this point and this point, horizontal constraint. So that means if I move these now, they will move together, which is what I want. Make sure it's inside of here. Hit close. That's the first sketch done. So that's attached to there. Now I'm going to duplicate that sketch. This is the back. Let's rename it first. Back profile. Now we can either come into the sketch, come up to edit, duplicate selection. What it's attached to, it's attached to the cutting extrude. Just uncheck that and that will leave that back profile there. Or we can disassociate it with this face by clicking on the back profile and the support, coming into the support, clicking on that and hit clear and hit OK. Because I've disassociated it with that support, you can see that's clear now. I can click on that and hit edit, duplicate selection. It'll just duplicate up. So edit, duplicate section. I've got 3 of them. This one's going to be the middle. Right click, rename middle profile. And this one is going to be the front. Right click, rename front. We're going to change what they look like in a minute. Now we associate them with the stations. So we take the front, click on the front, the support, click on the button, and we'll move this over to the left and click that front support there. Hit OK, and you can see there's a sketch on that face now. We'll do the same with the middle, support, and where we're going to put this one, I'm going to put it about here. Okay, that. So we've got those 3 going along there. Let's change these slightly now. So I'm going to come to the front profile, double click on it, and we'll come in. And we can't see that at the moment because we need a section view. There we go. And we'll change this. So I'm going to push it up. I'm going to bring these in as well. So I'm not dealing with the point of the boat. If I wanted to be dealing with the point of the boat, I'll create another one behind here and have it going into that point. Hit close, so we've got that one there. Might be a bit circular, but that's fine. And what we're going to do is take this middle one and change that slightly as well. So section view, I've got this one here. Just bring this up a bit wider. There we go. So we've got medium, wide and small. Now this is where I created the loft before going through here. I'm not going to create a loft going through here just yet. What I'm going to show you is how to offset these, because we're going to create two lofts. So we're going to create the outside and the inside loft. Click on the back profile. So we clicked on this one, and what we're going to do is we're going to move this inwards. So we're going to offset this inwards by creating another object from this one. For that we need the part workbench. Now I'm in the part workbench, I've got that back profile selected. I'm going to use this icon here. When you come in, it's normally set to this one, 3D offset. We're going to use a 2D offset. Also available from part, 2D offset. This creates a 2D offset. If I set to a minus value, it goes inwards. And we'll increase this by, say, about 3. And you can see that offset in there. If I zoom in, you can see that there. So what we'll do, we'll create a loft with the outer and a loft with the inner, but use this cutting surface to cut the inner loft. Hit OK. That's in there. We can do it with the other shapes now, so we come around and have a look. So we've got this one in here. We can click on that one or click from the middle profile here and use this tool here. Set it inwards. You can change these to whatever you want, even change the offset so it differs from the previous one. The arc and tangent there will mean that if it's arc, you'll get more curved offsets. So if the edges connect, they'll be curved. Tangent means they will follow the original offset. Okay, and we'll do the last one. Should be renaming these as I go. Let's rename the last one. This one here, offset, and we're doing -3 on there as well. Okay, so we've got this one. So what we have now is a cutting tool, a back offset, a back profile, and the same for all of the rest. So if we expand these, so we see them all, we're going to create lofts through here now. So we're going to create two lofts. Click on the utility loft and bring in the back offset. So we'll do the offsets first, middle offset and front. And we'll create a solid from those. Hit OK. That's our first loft. So this is our inner loft. Now nesting inside the inner loft, you'll find the offsets. We're going to press the spacebar on these offsets to hide them. And nesting inside the offsets, you'll find each of the original profiles. So the back, middle, and the front. Just going to keep those visible for the time being. I'm going to split the inner loft now with the cutting tool. So select the cutting tool first. Control select the inner loft. Come up to part, split, slice apart. And we slice those apart now into the exploded slices. And you can see that we've got all the faces inside there. We can control click all of these because these are the ones we don't want. Like so. Press the space bar. Get rid of all of those and these exploded slices. If we select the others, so the inner parts, we can control select them from here or control select them from here. And we'll extrude those along the y-axis. Go for 10mm. We can do symmetrical, so they sit over here if you so desire. Hit OK. Those are all in there now. So let's hide those exploded slices, and we've got these individual extrudes. We can name these to bulkheads, ribs, whatever you see fit. So I'm going to quickly rename these now. I've just renamed all the bulkheads, and we can still see the sketch inside there. And if we come in to the bulkhead, you can see we've got the slice and we've got the inner loft. That sits inside there. Now this is where the problem comes in, because that loft, if we wanted to 3D print this with these inner parts, and if we take a section out of here, so we can see these ribbons going across here, then these are going to show through. Or if we're trying to make an actual object out of this physical object, then these are going to poke through. So how do we solve that? Well, we're going to extrude the actual original sketch, because we created the sketch from the bulkhead, which was part of the slice. See the slice in there. Got the inner loft in there. As you see in bulkhead 001, 02, this will be the same in all of these, the slice, and then the slice again, and the inner loft. So that inner loft is the same object throughout. You can see when I press the spacebar on it, it just disappears. So just pick one. I'm just going to pick bulkhead 01. Extend it out, extend out the offset, because the offsets are in here. You see the sketches are in here and they're still visible. That's why they got the white around the outside. What we can do is create a loft from those sketches. So let's create utility to loft again. And we'll select the front, bring that in, the middle, and the back. So they must be in sequence. Create a solid, hit OK. And now that's lofted outside and round those extrudes. If you still see them poking through, then you can adjust each of the offsets and just bring them down a bit by the value. So if I bring this up, you can see the value in there, -3. So we can change that if we so desire. And that will change the loft underneath. So if I said -6 on here from the middle profile, then that will actually move that -6 inwards. And let's go 6, and what will happen is you'll see that will poke them out there. So we've got full control over the inner profiles, like so. And what you'll see inside is that we've basically got the outer loft, the inner loft, and the profiles. They are all solid, so we've got 2 solid objects in here. So we can take the one we want to keep, which will be the outer loft. So this one here, rename outer loft. Let's bring this around. See, we've got some artifacts there, and that's because we go to the offset. Let's just move this inwards, say -4. Now we can do the same with this one, -4. Just those in there. So you can see you've got a refresh that needs doing that. Edit, refresh. That's pulled those in. There's a little tick by them saying it needs refreshing. Let's have a look at the outer loft now. So that's nice and clean now across there. So going back to what we were saying, one we want to keep, one we want to remove, which is the inner loft. Control select both of those. And we can use a cut or part boolean cut. And what will happen is that if I hide the bulkheads, press the spacebar, that's cut right the way through there. So we've got those going through there. We've got one of the bulkheads still showing here. Let's press the spacebar on that. So we've got a hollow there. We can take the top off if we so desire as well. So now we've got that cut. We may want to take away part of the top as well. So I can click on top and create a sketch upon this. So let's click on the sketcher, and we're going to just place a sketch along the XY plane. So I haven't selected anything, so I've placed a sketch upon there. And I can move that up, or I could actually attach it to this surface here, depending on if this is a flat surface, if you're worried about topographical naming issues. I personally will just attach it to here and sketch upon there, because if I change anything underneath, I'll just reattach it. That's the way I work. And at some point, the TMP problems will go away from Freecad. We've already got link stage 3. So at some point it will go away and we don't have to worry about certain types of attachments. Even then, if you're managing your model well and you understand how to reattach those sketches, you'll be aware of those issues and you can go back and fix them. So for this instance, I'm going to look at this and just, let's bring this sketch up a bit. So come on to the sketch, that's the placement position, and we can change this along the Z axis, so we can move this up. So you've got a bit of a curvature that's going across here. So if I look at this, we wouldn't be able to attach a sketch upon here unless this was flat. It's not a planar surface. So we're going to go for this method for the time being. And we'll come up to the top. And what should we create? Let's have a look. I'm just going to create a simple box in here. Now let's go for the polyline in here, and we'll take out, say, a nice section like so, and hit escape, bring those in line with a horizontal constraint, and same with these two. Actually, let's make this one straight horizontal in there, and I could do symmetrical across there, but I'm not going to bother. So hit close. So we've got those now. Come over to the part and we'll extrude. We're looking along the Z. Looking along the Z. -1, so it's going downwards. And set this to about 20. So I want that passing through there. One I want to keep, the one I want to remove, and we can do a cut. So that's cut into there. So now I can bring back the bulkheads and we can see those running through there like so. And we've got a nice smooth surface running around the outside. You can see through there. And we've got all those inside there. So nice and smooth. Now let's change this slightly. So we've got these running through here. I'm going to change this cut. So come into the cut. Got the extrude, which was our deck. So this was our deck cut extrude. And inside there, we've got the sketch. Double click the sketch. We can see that sitting there. Let's come to the model. Got the bulkheads going through, and what we want to do is find, come into the cut, we've got the inner and outer loft. So there's the outer, press the spacebar, bring that back, and we can see that along there. Let's do something different. So let's delete these. What I'm going to do is chamfer this loft. And that's going to cause a bit of an issue. And we're going to need to do some model management in there. So this time I'm going to create, let's bring in an edge. Let's bring in this edge here. And this one here. Let's go for the curve. So drop this down, and we're using the endpoint and rim point 1. Come in, attach that point to there, that point to there, and we'll just touch that one. So we've got some problems. Hit the tasks, got malform constraints in there. Click to select and hit delete. So that tangency didn't work. So what we'll do is this time click that line and click this one. So we click both of them and do an equality. We've got a B-spline, so the B-spline connections there. So I'm just going to put this close to it. At the moment, B-spline tangency or equality is not supported in Freecad as of yet. We've got that one there. I'm going to take that one, control click the center line and mirror that over. And take a line across. Now, do I want a line across here or do I want to bring this down? Let's place a line across here. So this line going across here, like so. Those should be connected. I don't believe they are. Yep, they are. That's good. And a line across the bottom as well. So this point and this point. Hit close. Let's come down. Hide that out of loft. That's cut through there because we've taken the original sketch and just cut into there. So we've opened that up. So now we've got the boat. What I'm going to do is try to chamfer some of these in here. So you can see we have these bulkheads in here. We can actually chamfer these off either after the actual loft or used in the loft itself. For that, I'm just going to get rid of the original cut just to make it easier to see what we're doing, and also this deck and the sketch. So we've got the cut in here. We're just going to delete that one as well. So we've got the outer loft and the inner loft. So remember, the outer loft is just used as the skin. It's the inner loft that we want to use. So this one in here, the inner loft. If I click this edge of the inner loft, what we can do is just chamfer that. So come up to the chamfer and we get that edge there. We'll look along, see the edge has been selected, and we can chamfer it by something like 5mm and hit OK. We get that chamfer going along there. And if you look underneath as well, just make sure that it doesn't need refreshing, which it doesn't. You can see that chamfer is taken, but the extrudes haven't changed. Now, why is that? Well, that's because our chamfer has been made as a new object now. So this is our chamfer. Let's make this a bit more. So let's make this something like 8mm and hit OK. So we've got 8mm chamfer going all the way along here. The question is, will it cause us a problem when it comes to here? It shouldn't do, because our profile is big enough there. That's good. Matter of fact, we can't see that profile. Where's it gone? Yeah, it's the bulkhead. There it is. So that'll be chamfered there. So we've got that chamfer on there, but it hasn't affected the original extrudes. That's because that when we created our slice through here, there's the chamfer. Well, this chamfer is a new object. It's not part of the original slicing. Now, this is where model management comes in. We've renamed these nicely, or most of these anyway, except for this chamfer. So how do we apply the slice to the chamfer rather than the original loft? Because if we come into the chamfer, you can see we've got the inner loft inside. This one here, the inner loft, which has been chamfered, so we've got a chamfered inner loft. So I'm going to rename this. Just be careful because we're creating more faces on here. So if we start attaching items on top, then we may get into the topological naming issue, if that still exists at this time of speaking. Personally, I would just go in and change the attachment of any sketches that are attached on top of here if we run into that problem. It's all to do with managing model, understanding what's been created, and just keeping an eye on your model. So we've got the chamfer along here, the chamfered loft. I need to get this onto the slicing tool. So remember, we used the slicing tool, which was up here. So we've got the bulkhead, which has a slice, which was created via the slicing tool, this one here. So we've got the slice here, and if I come into this slice, we can see the cutting extrude, which is this one here. So let's have a look at our data, see what we've got. Click on the slice, we can see we've got a label slice, the base, which is the cutting edge, the tool, which is the inner loft. Now we've just chamfered the inner loft, so what we can do is swap these out. So we've got the loft here, the inner loft. Let's click on this button here, and instead of selecting the inner loft, let's clear that and select the chamfer. Hit OK. That chamfer has been moved now, and it's been dropped into this slice. So you can see the tools that's been used. We've got the cutting edge and the chamfer. We've got a tick there, which means it needs refreshing. So edit, refresh. You can see that chamfer is taken across all those edges. So let's hide the cutting edge and also hide the loft. One side of this is now chamfered all the way across there. And anything we do to that chamfer, so I want to actually add the other edge in, we can double click on that. If I did another chamfer on here, then I would actually have to pull that in, or any other operations if I wanted that affect the extrude through here. So I'll double click on that chamfer, and we're going to go for this edge as well. Let's come in, let's have a look, see if we can get that edge. There is this one here. That's edge 12, and hit OK. Now we need to change the size of the chamfer, because at the moment that's only changed it to a 1mm chamfer. So let's change that to 8. We've got the chamfers going across there. Edit, a refresh is OK. And now if I hide the loft, you can see the chamfers have gone all the way across there. And bring back the outer loft, and that's all fine there. So now if I wanted to, we can create the cut in here. I didn't really need to remove the cut from the outer loft. So if I cycle back a bit, Control Z, there's the chamfer. There's the chamfer there, Control Z, inner loft, which is this one. Outer loft, the cut. There's a sketch, which goes on top, Control Z, and we're back to where we started. Let's try that against this model. So first of all, we've got to get our bearings. So we've got in the one of the bulkheads, we've got the slices, that slice, and that extrude, and the inner loft. So it's the inner loft that is created the bulkheads. So this is why I've renamed them, because it can be quite confusing. So we look working upwards, our inner loft has created the bulkhead. So let's just hide this loft here, the outer loft, to get to the inner loft. Let's add a chamfer on that. Fillet or chamfer, and we'll pick both these edges. Got two edges selected, and we'll have the 8mm chamfer there. That chamfer has now taken. The cut wouldn't have changed, so the cut is still there, so that's fine. So now we've got to add the chamfer to the cutting tool, which is the cutting extrude inside this bulkhead, so this one here. So we go to the slice above there. You can see that slice that's been used as a cutting tool. Tools the loft. Let's change this to the chamfer. Clear. Let's remember to clear, because we can add multiples in here. Hit the chamfer. Hit OK. Edit. Refresh. Let's hide that cutting edge. Got the chamfer in there. That's been applied to each of those ribs or those bulkheads. Let's have a look at our cut, and also hide the chamfer. So we can see now we've got the chamfer inside. We've got the whole extrude. We may need to extrude because we've got this plank here that goes across, which is that's part of the cut. So it looks like what we need to do is come into the cut and look at that deck cutting extrude, that one there, and we've extruded that 20 mil. So that deck cutting extrude, I don't want to transform it. Length forwards, let's change this to 40 millimeters. There we go, that's removed that now, so that's gone right the way down and it just cuts into that loft. So that's removed that part away from there now, because doing the extrude we've actually made some space in there. We can click on that sketch and press the space bar, get rid of these sketches so we can see these sketches in here, press the space bar. So now we have that chamfer that's taken effect right across that model, and the bulkheads in there. So it's all to do with model management and understanding what makes up each of the parts and working our way backwards. This is why it's always handy to rename these. I don't normally do it in my videos because I try to keep them quick. So I'm taking account of some really nice feedback from one of the viewers. And they've said about renaming stuff, and it makes it a lot easier if I can do that for viewers when I go into something a bit more complex like this. So this has answered hopefully 2 viewers' questions so far: how to offset the extrudes and how to chamfer these as one. If it hasn't, please let me know and I can solve those. I will get to the other questions regarding this, but if I put them all in one video it's going to be quite long. I just wanted to solve those, basically a couple at a time, just to overcome those problems. And also I've thrown in a few additional things in there to allow us to open this up and see inside and basically make our modelling much easier and more authentic to the real object. So I hope you enjoyed that video and I hope to see you in the next one. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.